Hello everyone. Our group project is of Halloween rental shop where we can rent, return the costumes and payment is done generating the invoice and let me show you the project. This is our login page where you have to enter your email address and password registered in our registration page. Now, first of all, if your username and password is not registered, then please register from register now and please first of all enter the email address, first name, last name, date of birth, username and password and contact number. And the password that is entered here and will be registered have to be entered in the login page with the user email. Now let me enter the email address and password, and let me now log in. Now and now comes the main interface of our Halloween rental shop where we can rent the costume, return the costume, and explore our galleries. Now, first of all, let me show you. Let me tell you some terms and conditions of our Halloween rental shop. For renting, one can rent as many costumes as desired. One have to return and pay for each type of costumes having rent transaction again. Rent return for returning the costumes. One can return each type of costume at one any time, not more than days rented for. Otherwise, one have to pay extra charge for delay payment. One have to pay for each costume ID separately, and one can pay during the rent or return time cost. One have to pay the price of each quantity of the each costume ID charge or fee. Maximum rent days is 5 days. If one rent for days greater than five, one have to pay charges or of $3 for each extra days. Now let me show you how to rent the costume. Now first of all, you click on. Let me refresh the page first. Now rent. Click on this check button of rent costume and enter any IDs that you like that you want to rent the costume. You want to rent. Let me see costume number five, quantity one, and number of days two. Let me rent the costume right now. Sorry, unless an return transaction means I have already transacted this before while doing database checking. So now let me take another number. Let me take this number ID number 9 and rent. Do you want to continue? If you want to continue, there's no way to return. Cancel return. Okay. You want to know? No. Thank you. The if the costume is rented successfully, then this message pops out, rented successfully, thank you. Okay, let me check the invoice let me create the rent invoice right now because it would be easy for us. And here comes the message, please download rent invoice from the file menu. Let me check it. This button has been enabled, so now the save invoice has arrived and we can download it from here. Now here comes out once the save txt is clicked, here it comes rent receipt downloaded. Now let us check the rent receipt and where is it? Yeah, this one. This is the rent invoice that has been generated before in the code, before in the output. Now here we can see I have many costumes that have been taken that have been rented. So there are four costumes that I have rented while I had been doing the testing of this project. And yeah, first of all, here shows the date, time, and name of the customer who had rented the costume, and who has rented the costume. And just below the ID number, here shows the number of costumes. Here shows the costumes that the customer have rented. So and the last here shows the grand total, your grand total, the grand total, and total dues and total paid. There is the calculation. And once you pay the costumes, uh, you can rent other costumes, same costume for next time as well. And now let me again go back to our GUI page. Now let me show you our return costume. Uh, Now return costume, I had rented four costumes before: number 4, number 10, number 5, and number 9, right? Now let me return ID number 9 costume. And I have to return it. Do you want to continue or no way to cancel rent? Return, okay. Do you want to return more? No. And rented successfully, yeah, return successfully, right? Now let me see, let me check the return invoice now. Now we can download the return invoice from the file menu. And we can now the return receipt is downloaded. Now let me check there, and let me check in the terminal page. And this is the return invoice that has been generated from the return invoice. And here shows the date and time where the when the time is when the time when the return invoice is generated. And there is the remarks of where the costumes which have been paid or not. Well, if the costumes are if the rented costumes have been paid, then the remarks is paid, otherwise the remarks is due. And here shows the quantities, prices, and days of the costumes that are rented. And like previously in the rent invoice, there is grand total, total dues, and total paid. And there are the proprietors who they had developed this GUI page, and the termin and the output and the invoice in the terminals. And the contact number is given if there is any problem in the invoice. Now let me show you the payment method. You have If once I click the payment button, comes out the pop out of that you have this certain on-paid transaction, right? I have 5 on-paid transactions, so I have to press OK and pay now. Okay, enter the ID which you want to print and proceed. Now let me do for the ID number 9. ID number 9, right? Payment, and payment successful. Okay, no. Now